I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, the place where you come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and overall positive message. I'm your host, DJ. And man, I was having a very interesting, I say interesting, but maybe the better word was a tough conversation with my nephew the other day um, about his attitude towards himself because he's big on saying I can't, especially when it's something that requires him to give more time, more energy, more effort, more focus to something than what he's willing to give. And his default setting is I can't. And on one hand, it's frustrating, but on the other hand, it's understandable because for me, it's understandable because that's how I lived my life, especially growing up. I know I've talked on here plenty of times that I've, just been a person who's quit on myself, who's given up on myself, who's, taken a path of least resistance. Anytime things get hard, I go the opposite direction. I run because I didn't want to put the time, the effort, the energy, the focus into it. Not that I couldn't, I just didn't want to. And I see him doing the same thing anytime that something requires him to work a little harder than he wants to or needs more of his attention than he's willing to give. His natural go to setting is I can't. I don't know how, or it's impossible. And, we were just having a conversation and I was just telling him, you got to stop saying I can't because you can. It may take you a little longer. You may have to put more energy in, but you absolutely can. Just because you have to give more than your minimum amount of effort doesn't mean that you can't. It just means that you have to work a little harder to get to where you want to be. And I'm just trying to give him what I wish that I had got in those moments. Is like, no, I'm not going to allow you to give up on yourself because that's all you're doing. Every time you say I can't, it's like you're giving yourself permission to not do what you need to do, not work as hard as you need to work, not go as hard as you need to go, because you're telling yourself, well, I can't do it anyway, so what's the point? And again, I know this from experience. So my big thing with him was just like, no, I'm not going to give you the, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to give you the okay. I'm not going to give you the permission to continue doing that to yourself. I don't want to keep doing it for myself, so I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow you to do it to yourself. You've done it enough. And I know how hard it is again, because if you've done it most of your life, if that's been always been your answer, every time something gets hard, it's I can't. Every time something requires more of you than you're willing to give, it's I can't. I can understand why that would push you in a way that why that would be your natural response would be to just say, hey, I can't do this, so I'm not going to keep trying, or man, it's so hard, so I'm not going to do this. Um, and I'm just trying to get him to get out of that mindset and let him know that you absolutely can. It may take a little bit more than what you're willing to give right now, but you absolutely can. It is possible. You can 100% make it happen, but you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to go as hard as you need to go to get to where you want to be. It's all up to you to get to where you want to go, but it is possible. It is doable. It is attainable, but you have to be willing to go there. It doesn't mean that much to you. And I know because he's had a lot of things go on in his life that it may not mean that much to him, but it means that much to me. Seeing him be successful, seeing him not give up on himself means that much to me. And if I have to push him a little harder or, support him a little more or reinforce and encourage him, whatever I need to do to get him to understand that, yes, I can. Yes, I may be overstimulated. Yes, I may be a little frustrated. Yes, this is very hard for me. So I'm not having the easiest time. So I need an extra time, whatever it takes I need you to understand. I want to hear those things as opposed to I can't. Don't let I can't be your default. Find a way to can. Find a way. What helps you? I can, but I'm overstimulated. I can, but this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I need extra help. And so just trying to get him in that mindset of I can and I will. I just have to find a way. And my path may be different than other people's path. My path may be longer than other people's, but I will get there. I will make it happen. So that's what I've just been trying to get him to understand and focus on. And it's partially been helping me as well because the same things that I'm telling him, I'm telling myself, and the same things that I'm trying to instill in him, I'm doing my best to instill in myself. And honestly, that's the whole reason that I'm even recording this because again, just I haven't been in the best of spaces mentally with everything that's going on, but I want to be a good example for him. So even when you don't want to do something or even when you don't have the motivation, it's all about the discipline and continuing to do it, especially on the days or at the times when you don't feel like doing it or when you feel like you don't have it. You find it, you do whatever it takes to get to where you need to be, and I want to be at least one of those examples for him and showing him that, you have to have that can do attitude. You have to get out of this I can't mindset because every time you say I can't, you're slowly but surely giving up on yourself and on the things that you want because you're telling yourself that it's okay to say I can't. And once you say I can't, you no longer put any effort or energy into that. And you're telling your body, you're telling your mind, you're telling your nervous system that it's okay. Once I realize, okay, this is too tough, I can't. Once I realize I got to put too much into this, I can't. And so I can't just becomes your go to. And again, I know from experience when you live in an environment where that's okay, you start to realize that giving up on yourself is so easy. And it is. It's one of the easiest things to give up on things that you want. Okay, football is too hard. I don't want to do it anymore. It whatever the climbing this mountain is too much work. This is too much. This is that. And all you're gonna do is give up on yourself. All you're gonna do is continue to shut the doors and those opportunities and say no to those opportunities because you already see the work that's gonna have to go into making this happen. So before you even give it a chance, you've already given up on it. And what you end up in is exactly where I found myself, especially after college and really, I'm sorry, after high school, trying to go into college, you find yourself in a cage because you say no to anything that requires more work than what you're willing to give, especially when you're only willing to give the bare minimum. If the answers aren't right there for you, if the problem isn't solved for you, if the work isn't done for you, then you don't want to put in any more work than the bare minimum. And once something requires more than a bare minimum, I'm out, I quit, I give up, I can't. You know what I'm saying? And I know how disabling that mentality it can be. And it will box you in because every single door, every single opportunity, every single whatever chance that comes about, you're going to find a reason to say I can't because that's going to be your default setting. That's going to be if somebody doesn't lay out every single step for you and do a majority of the work for you, your answer is going to be I can't. I don't know how. It's impossible. And I see him going down that road. So I'm doing my best now to try to course correct that and let him know that you can. You absolutely can. You can make it happen. It won't be easy. It will require a lot of work. It will require a lot of your attention. And I know that, especially when things that he doesn't care about, it's hard to keep his attention. So, when I'm helping him with his homework, we have a tough time sometimes, with him staying focused or him being frustrated because he got an answer wrong and now he's flustered. And I know that sometimes instead of me reassuring him, sometimes I get caught up in him being flustered and I get flustered myself. And now we're just triggering each other because something he'll do will trigger me. And instead of me having the wherewithal as an adult to regulate my emotions and understand that in this moment he needs me to reassure him, sometimes my frustration just gets the better of me. And now we're just feeding each other's frustration and anger. So I've been doing a better job of, taking a step back if I need to take a step back and giving myself time to calm down so that way I can give him the reassurance that he needs to understand, hey, it's okay that you got this wrong. It's okay that you missed this. I would much rather you try, don't get it right, and we try again than for you to just automatically assume because I don't know what this is. I don't because math is like he said math is one of his tougher subjects. One of the subjects or maybe the main subject that he has a problem with. I would much rather him try it, us and him not get it right, and us try to figure out where he went wrong so that way we can get the answer right going forward than for him to see the problem and just assume I can't do it and just give up on it automatically. But I have to do a better job of reassuring him that, hey, it's okay. We all mess up. We all get some things wrong, but try. And if you don't get it right, let's figure out why you didn't get it right. And then let's figure out how we get it right and go forward. And that's what I had to do a better job of because when I feed into his emotions or when I allow his emotions to trigger me, and now it's like we're both feeding off of each other's frustrations and it just feeds more into the I can't. See, I can't. Even when you help me, I can't. And, again, I know how addicting that mentality can be, those words can be, because it for him, it feels like it solves all his problems. Oh, I'm struggling to do this, I can't. Oh, this is too hard, I can't. And he thinks that the problem goes away. But what I'm trying to get him to understand is that problem isn't going away. That problem is just building. Because it's out of sight, it's out of mind, but it's building. All of these I can'ts are building because that math isn't going anywhere. um the emotional stuff, your triggers aren't going anywhere. So if you're telling me I can't handle my triggers or I can't find a way to regulate my emotions, I can't, guess what, those triggers aren't going anywhere. People mistreating you aren't going anywhere because they're going to be people throughout your life for the rest of your life who are not going to treat you fairly for whatever reasons. You're going to go through unfair situations for the rest of your life. They just come up. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair. Life isn't fair. Things are going to happen. Math, especially if you want to go to college, if you want to get through you got to get through the rest of middle school and high school. Math is going to keep coming up. So you can't keep using I can't as an excuse because at some point is going to come back to bite you. And then when it's test time and he fails the test and now he's in trouble because he's failing the test because he's not doing what he needs to be doing, it's like, but I can't, but I don't know, but it's just always, I can't. It always comes back to that. And I understand how debilitating that can be, how addictive that can be because we think that that's the answer. Oh, that can get me out of trouble. Oh, I can't. So that means I don't have to worry about it no anymore. But you do because it's going to come back around. And I am fighting so hard for him because that's what I wanted, or at least that's what I needed. Let me not say that's what I wanted because I didn't want that at that time. I enjoyed being able to say I can't and then that be that. It just hurt me in the end because again, it's just creating more problems for me down the line because all I'm doing is kicking that can. I'm not getting rid of my problems. I'm not getting rid of my issues. I'm not solving anything. I'm just pushing it further and further down until it got to the point where there's no more pushing it. Now I have to face all of these things. And that's what the past few years have been for me. It's just a bunch of realizations of, man, I could have been somewhere. I could have been somebody. I could have been doing something more because I am somebody, but I could have been so much more. I could have been doing so much more if I just wouldn't have had that I can't mentality and use that as the answer to solve all of my problems, or at least what I thought at the time was solving my problems. So I'm trying to give him what I needed, but not because it wasn't what I wanted. I enjoyed like I said, I can be accountable and saying I enjoyed having an enabling environment where if I said I can't, people just, or I didn't want to, it just was like, okay, fine. But now, as I'm older, I see how much that hurt me because it didn't teach me how to fight through hard times. It didn't teach me how to fight through adversity. It didn't teach me hard work. It didn't teach me how to build a good work ethic, a hard work ethic. And I had to learn these things as an adult the hard way. And I missed out on a lot of opportunities because I was scared of the work, because I didn't want to do the work. I wanted things handed to me and given to me. And so now that I'm in this, now that I'm 36 years old and I am finding myself like lost and in limbo because I don't know what I want to do for a living. I don't know, what my passions are, is because when I had passions about things and I looked at how much work has to go into making these things happen, I automatically ran and I automatically came up with the reasons why I can't, or I tried it. And then when the hard times came, or when the adversity, or when it was time for the rubber to meet the road, it was time to put in the work. It was time to grind. It was time to sacrifice, time and whatever. I wasn't willing to do it. I just wanted to say I can't. I came up with 1,001 reasons of why I can't. And it's just, that was a big part of my life. I can't. Even though I could, I just didn't want to. And I'm trying to do my best to help my nephew avoid the same things that I'm going through. And hopefully, if this message is reaching you and you're one of those type of people, or you have family that's like that, hopefully this helps them as well, because that's nothing but an excuse and it's going to hurt you. Like, I know it feels good in the moment because it feels like it's your answer. It's the cure all for all of your problems, but all of you're doing is creating more problems, behind the scene or further along in life, because now you don't have the skills that you need. Now, when you're in a situation where there is no running, you can't say I can't. You don't know how to go through adversity. You don't know how to handle adversity. You don't know how to handle hard times. You don't know how to handle, you know, these situations where you got to figure it out because there is no running. You don't have those skill sets because you chose to run. You chose to give up. You chose to take the path of least resistance. Now you don't know how to resist. Now, once life is hitting you and rocking you left and right, you have no foundation to stand on, because every single type of opportunity you had to build a foundation, you chose to run from it. You chose to go live in an already built house. And now that you have no other houses to stay in and you have to stay in your own, you have nothing. You're building from very little because you didn't take the time to put that foundation together. Again, because all you knew is I can't. And for me, that was an acceptable answer. And I know that for my nephew, for most of his life, that's been an acceptable answer. And now he's starting to well, he, again, we just had this conversation yesterday, so I can't say he's starting to realize, but hopefully he's going to realize sooner rather than later, that this is not an acceptable answer. I can't is not an acceptable answer. It's hard is an acceptable answer. It's difficult. Um, I'm overstimulated, but I'm going to work at it. These are acceptable answers. It's going to take me some time to get there. That's an acceptable answer, but I can't is not an acceptable answer. And I can't allow it to be, I won't allow it to be an acceptable answer, because that I know the harm that it can cause down the line. I know how much harm it is going to do to him if he gets to keep allowing that to be his go-to, and we keep allowing that to be uh, a correct answer, or we keep allowing that to be a correct behavior in his, for his mind to just go straight to I can't, and now he doesn't have to. I can't, and now that goes away. No, it's not acceptable anymore. And just trying to get him to understand why it's not acceptable. Because I don't want to just tell him, hey, it's not acceptable, and leave it at that. I want to explain to him that I want him to know how amazing he is. I want him to know the things that he can do the person that he can be, the things that he can achieve, the places that he can go are limitless, but you have to put in the work. And it starts with I can. That's where it starts. That's where his foundation is I can, and I have to get him out of that I can't mentality, because that's continuing to tear down or continuing to stop him from even building the foundation. I won't say it's tearing it down. He hasn't even started to build his foundation because he hasn't taken the opportunity to start doing the work. But I'm trying my best anyways to get him to be in this I can mentality, to adopt this I can mentality, so that way we can start instilling in him that he can do these things. Yes, these things may take a little bit more time. Yes, you may learn differently than other people. Yes, you may be easily distracted. So you have to ask a few more questions, or you have to get extra help, because the other students may be easily, distracting you. All of those things are okay. And it's okay to be frustrated in those moments. It's okay to be upset in those moments. It's okay to feel like this is impossible. But I need you to understand that it's not. It's just a hard moment. It's just a moment where you're overstimulated. It's just a moment where you letting your distractions get the best of you. It happens. It's okay. But you can't stay in that place of I can't. You have to learn that you can, and yes you can, and it may be different than other people. Your path is going to look different than everyone else and then some other people's. It's okay. Not everybody has the same path. And I've had to learn how to give myself that same grace, that yes, my path is going to look different than a lot of other people's. That yes, a lot of people that I grew up with have found their passion, and they've been putting in the work, and they're in the places that they're in, and I'm very happy for them. And I give love and I give praise, and I definitely should give flowers where they're deserved. They found what they wanted, no matter if they knew from a young age, found out in high school, in college, after college, whatever. But if you found what you're passionate about and you're working hard to do your thing, you deserve your flowers. You deserve where you are in life, because you've worked to get there. And if you're someone like myself, who you've always tried to find the easy way out, first of all, give yourself grace. And second of all, go find that passion. Go figure out what it is that you want to do, and understand you can do it. It may look different than other people. You may be going back to school as a 30 something year old in the same classes with someone who's 17, 18. That's okay. It looks different, but just because it's different doesn't mean that it's wrong. Just because it looks different doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just that it's different. And I'm trying to get my nephew to understand that yes, you may learn at a different pace than other people. Does not make it wrong. You deserve to be there. You deserve to take up whatever places you are in, you deserve that space that you're holding up. But you have to believe that. And I have to do a better job of instilling that in him and reinforcing that in him, especially when he doesn't feel like he can, or when he doesn't feel like he deserves. I'm doing my best to let him know that you do deserve and that you absolutely can. We just have to figure out that path for you. What does that path look like to get to I can? So if you want to get better at math, it's doable. We just have to figure that out. And it's going to start with you asking the questions, asking the teachers to repeat this, not taking the temptation of playing with the other students when they're acting up, bringing all your equations, your formulas home so we can figure it out. Some of this stuff I have not done in over 20 years, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to go Google, find these things, find these answers to help you out. All I'm asking for is for you to do your part. And for you to do your part is just simply not act up with these kids, will not act up with the other kids. Pay attention in class. Ask the questions. If you don't understand something, don't be afraid to ask. And I understand how hard that is, because again, as a 30-year-old man, it's hard for me to ask questions sometimes. It's hard for me to admit that I don't know sometimes. So again, just trying to instill in him, get the help that you need. And if those don't work, then just bring it home and I will do my best to help you. And if I have to email the teacher to get some type of better understanding for myself, so that way I can help you understand it, then that's what we got to do. because, I even told him, like, you keep saying you can't, but I've seen you do it. We've sat down and we've got some problems done. It took forever. It was like pulling teeth, but we got it done. And he was like, well, that's because you explained it to me. And I'm like, okay, well, bring the formulas home, bring whatever work material you are allowed to bring home, bring it home, and I'll do my best to get a foundation of understanding, and then I'll teach you whatever it takes. But just understand, you have a team, you have a village, you have people who are willing to go to whatever lengths to help you, but you have to do your part, and you have to be accountable for your part, and you have to understand that you absolutely can. Again, it may look different, but different isn't wrong. Different is just different. Your course is different. Everybody learns differently at different paces. Just let's figure out what works for you. So that's all that I'm trying to get him to understand, is you just have to figure out what works for you. And it has to start with the getting rid of this I can't, because that's not going to work for you. That's not going to help you. I know it feels like it is, because it feels like it's the cure all. It's getting me away from whatever problems, but it's not. It's just building problems for you later on in life. And I can understand, especially at 12 years old, how thinking about the future, it's like I'm not worried about that, because we assume that we'll have it figured out by then, or we think that that's how life works. But what I'm trying to get him to understand is, when you start with this type of mentality, it's hard to let go. It's hard to let go of I can't. Do you know? And I'm just trying to get him to see, do you know how easily I can't comes out your mouth? You will say I can't without even thinking about it. You won't even think about it twice. If you feel like it's too hard, the first two words out of your mouth are going to be I can't. And he got to thinking, and and I just want him to understand that. I want him to get that those two words are very, very addictive, because you associate it with, my problems will go away with these two words. I won't be asked to do this with these two words. People will leave me alone. I won't have to work as hard. I won't have to put much energy into it with these two words. And I'm trying to get him to understand that those two words are going to hurt you going forward. And again, being 12, you're not focused on the future. You're just focused on right now. And I'm trying to get him to understand that letting go of those two words is going to be hard, because you have such a tight grip on them, because they are part of your comfort zone. They are part of your comfort. When things get uncomfortable, when things get uneasy, it's quickly to go to I can't. That is your go-to. And I'm just trying to get him to understand that you can't assume that you're going to be able to cut it off, to turn it on and turn it off. It doesn't work like that. When your mind get a hold of something, and it feels good, and it feels natural, and it feels normal, and it feels easy, it's going to hold on to that. And so, again, just trying to get him out of that can't do and into the can do, into the it's possible. And it may take time, it may take work, it may take effort, it may take a level of focus, but it can be attained. It is achievable. It is doable. You can make it happen. You absolutely can. And so that's what I'm going to start telling him every single day. If I catch him before he goes off to school, you can. Before he goes to bed, you can. Before we sit down with the homework, you can. Even while we're doing the homework, you can. I just want to make sure that I'm feeding into him every single chance that I get. You absolutely can. And I want to make sure that I'm feeding to myself and feeding to anybody listening. You absolutely can. It may look different. It may be hard. It may be challenging. There will be hard times. It may be times where you want to give up. But through all of that, just know that you absolutely can. There is no doubt in my mind. You can. You may have to work a little harder for it, but you can make it happen. You may have to go in a different direction than most people, but you absolutely can make it happen. And there are so many people who are going through so many things, and they feel like they can't, or they feel like there's no way. They feel like it's impossible. And I can understand, like, especially when you're going through the middle of something and it feeling like you can't, because you can't see, or you don't see the way. You don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You don't see a way through. So it's so easy to think about the I can'ts, because you all you're seeing is the negativity. But I'm telling you, you may not see the way now. You may not see the path now. You may not know where the resources are now, but they are there. You just have to find them. Maybe you have to go to unconventional places. Maybe you have to talk to people you've never talked to about these things, whatever the case may be. But I'm telling you, you absolutely can. It's just a matter of finding what way works for you, finding what path works for you, even if that path is something that's completely different and looks like nothing that anyone else is doing. That's okay, because your path is meant for you. So your path shouldn't look like everyone else's. So if you don't take anything else away from this, just take simply, I can. Even if you don't know how yet, even if you don't know, how long it's going to take, just know that you can. Believe in that. You absolutely can. But that's it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for listening on all the platforms that y'all are listening to the podcast on. I appreciate the love and the downloads and the listens. And to everybody watching on YouTube, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the love that I've been getting, the comments, the likes. So please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until the next time we meet, y'all already know, stay blessed.